Knowing how to mod your weapons in Warframe is the most important thing to learn, which is why we're adding a quest later this year where Teshin tells you how to do that. But that's in the future, and maybe he'll do a bad job at it or something, so I'm here to help you learn how to mod like a true master of Vitenno Arsenal. The basic philosophy is big number good, as ideally you want your targets to die when you shoot them. The key aspect of this is identifying what big numbers a weapon has to start with the most important ones being crit chance, crit damage, and status chance. Critical damage is the easiest to explain. The vast majority of weapons have a 2x crit damage multiplier, which I would describe as good. Anything higher is great, anything below that is bad. This is also affected by crit chance. Some weapons may have very low critical chance but high crit damage, and some weapons have extremely high crit chance that is offset with low critical damage. The former is context dependent, and the latter is a situation where it's still investing critical damage as long as every hit is a crit. Critical chance is very easy to identify from a glance, as you'll generally be increasing it by 200%. Anything below 20 is bad, anything between 20 to 30 is alright, 30 to 34 is good, and anything higher is great. There are some nuances to it, such as the weapon's base damage and or fire rate. A great example of this is Vitenn Archiplasmor. It only has a 22% crit chance, but sports an impressive 760 base damage, meaning it will hurt regardless if it crits. I'd also like to bring up Secondary Enervate, an arcane for secondary weapons that can turn any weapon into a crit weapon. As long as a weapon has crit damage above 2 times, you can forego a crit chance mod and focus more on critical damage. The Kuva Nucor in particular excels with this. Status chance is the stat for most mods out of this list, and is generally increased in chunks of 60%. It's often obvious when a weapon has a good status chance, as you'll be putting on 60/60s and come out with a higher number at the end. The only times I go all in on status chance are if a crit chance and crit damage are lacking, in which case I'll typically go for a status damage build with viral and electric. There's also melee influence, an arcane that has a 20% chance to spread status effects to all enemies around you when you apply an electric proc. If you hover over the status chance in the modding screen, you can see the exact chance of each damage type applying for status. If you think that the electric proc chance times 0.2 is a reliable value, then I'd say it's worth using on that weapon. I'd like to go over a weapon I had to use recently for Deep Archimedia, the Astilla Prime. A slug shotgun with low critical damage and alright crit chance. My solution? A viral electric status damage build, even while facing a murmur. It was considerably more effective than I expected. Despite the murmur being resistant to viral, the procs enabled the electric procs to deal considerably more damage, which was vital as it was the main source of damage from a weapon. The other use of status-focused weapons are as primers, where the focus isn't dealing damage but instead applying status effects to butter them up to finish them off with another weapon. I don't feel these are as needed as they were in the past, as enemy armor was greatly reduced in 2023 and most frames have access to some form of armor strip and damage vulnerability. It's more of a personal preference thing these days. If you, my dear viewer, would like to learn how to use a particular weapon, feel free to comment below and I'll try my best to reply with an answer. Never mod for physical damage types. Physical damage mods don't add damage to a weapon, they increase the existing damage type on a weapon, while elemental mods give it an increase based on the total base damage. There are very rare exceptions to this, such as Vikota Motivore receiving 5 times the bonus and then being combined with Melee Doughty, an arcane that gives flat crit damage based on the current puncture status chance. Also, you'll generally want viral on a weapon, because even if the enemy is resistant to it, the status effect is still quite useful. There are enemies that are immune to the viral status, but they are purely on the Deimos open world, so I'd avoid using it there. Otherwise, it's dependent on a weapon's status chance and fire rate. Don't worry about having stray elements like rad or magnetic on your weapon. The only time that would be an issue is if you really need a specific status effect to apply consistently and repeatedly every single hit. Additionally, the mods that give those directly are quite good. Reload speed and fire rate are two stats that I'd consider vibe-based when it comes to knowing when to use, namely for rifles. Shotguns and secondaries have mods that increase fire rate while increasing damage. There's also the cannonade mods that give a massive damage while locking fire rate, which is only usable in semi-auto weapons. And that's not inherently a bad thing either. But fire rate being locked means it can't go down either, which is a very notable thing for some weapons. But Tremna Prime is a good example of a weapon that I boost reload speed and fire rate on. It's just that much nicer for higher fire rate that I find it worth it, and Fractalized Reset takes care of a 4-second reload time. It's also worth noting that there are dual stat mods that boost reload speed and another attribute, and the Merciless arcanes give a 30% boost as well. The important lesson here is to not go overboard with them, as you'll often be sacrificing large amounts of damage to put them on. Unless it's chilling reload. We love a 5-cost mod that gives 60% cold. The last thing I want to talk about are the acuity mods, as they're decently niche mods that I don't use very often, especially for secondaries. I hate to describe it like this, but I really only use it on weapons that are almost good, but just shy of being actually good, as well as making sniper rifles better. The best example I have is the Kuva Chacker, where landing headshots deals huge red crits and makes it a much more efficient weapon than before. I highly suggest testing your weapons in the simulacrum to see which ones actually perform better with a mod, because more often than not, acuity is not as good as you think it would be. The real last thing I have to say is that you want Tennokai on your melee weapon. You want Opportunity's Reach, Dreamer's Wrath, or Conditions Perfection. It is worth it, trust me. Put it on your melee weapon. You want Tennokai. It's really good. Free melee hits are great. You do a big attack, it does a lot of damage, it's great. It doesn't consume the combo counter, so it will keep going up. You need Tennokai. Put Tennokai on your weapon. I beg you, please.